as it's my final night, let me show you around the neighbourhood, okay? So I'm here at the Hotel Androtti, and if we look out from here, and we look that way, you might be able to see the sign, but there's another hotel along there, and then opposite, where that dark space is, that is, as far as I know, the actual Castel Fidardo, which is nothing but a big villa really. And there's this building here, which is always empty, all the lights are always off. Moving along, there's this building. This building is not a hotel, it's residence, and the first time there's ever been a light up there. Top row, always empty, never seen a light there either. This row, they were in the first night, and it looks like they are back, because that's a light somewhere in there. But they disappeared last night, or was it the night before? Down here, he's in every night, wandering around from room to room, and over there, with the balcony, the little old lady who opens her windows every so often and goes, "Buongiorno!" Right down there is a little bar, and this little bar is very, very crowded. It's very, very small. It's literally only that little bit down there, and it's with a bunch of regulars, except for this time of week when there seems to be a lot more people there. The doors are soundproof, but when they open it, you can hear banging music, and it sounds very, very, happy and exciting. But it's very small. There's usually only about 3 or 4 people there, and I think at least 2 of them work there. They come out to congregate to smoke out here, and I can hear them when I go to sleep, because I always leave this window wide open to cool the place. The laugh of that is that up here we have a heater, and the control here will only let me set the heat level as low as 21 degrees, which is unfortunate, because obviously with the window open it cools down a lot more than that, and I like it cooler, but it does mean that often goes off, as I think it just did then, to heat the room, and it's a bit of a waste really. Oh, we've got our first smoke around there, down there. Anyway, right down the other end, right down that way, on the far side is another hotel, a much grander hotel. And then at the end of the road there is Freedom Plaza, basically. Piazza del Freedom or something like that. It's a dingy little place, a little roundabout. And that is all that separates us from Roma Termini, which is basically on the other side of that plaza, and maybe a street further along or something like that. So, coming to the end of my Romani Aeterna Tour now, feeling a bit sad. It's been a really good time. I think it ranks probably below Greece, but above the first American Dreams tour. So right in the middle. A lot of that has to do with just the fact that things were worked out for me in Greece. So it was a lot. Do you know, if I do this way, you can actually see me. Can you? Can you see me? Maybe not. Oh no, that's really bad, isn't it? We'll go back to looking over here. But things were worked out for me in Greece. It was a package tour, which meant that I was doing things with other people, and one of the things that has really struck me this time is actually being alone, although I much prefer it still. I do much prefer it, because I can do what I want at my own time. The other thing is that with Greece it was all worked out for me, so it was a lot more relaxing because they just took me to places. I didn't have to keep getting my map out and, you know, getting lost and stuff like that. The other thing is that Rome lacks public loos. It's got a big shortage of public loos, and that is an issue, because if you're out all day sightseeing, you want to try and strike a balance between getting your fluids so that you don't feel dehydrated, particularly between about 12 and half 2, when even now in late March it's scorching, and the fact that you don't know where your next toilet is, and so you can end up needing it for quite some time. Thankfully I have a rather large bladder, so I don't have too much of a problem, but I would recommend that when you do need the toilet, you keep walking, don't stop, and try and stay away from all the fountains, because that doesn't help. It really doesn't help when you need the toilet. The other thing that Rome has a problem with, and I've spoken about this before, is the sort of fleecers, and they come in two forms. You've got the genuine poor, and they tend to be women, and they tend to sit on the steps of the churches that are open, and they babble, and they hold out little tins, and they want your money, and not even the priests give to them. I think there is a worry about whether they're genuine or not, and where the money goes. Also where they go after dark, because the women completely disappear. I don't know where they go. There are the men, but they generally tend to be your drunks, and they are the ones that you see sleeping at night all around Rome Aeterna. There is actually a red light district, I'm sure it's a red light district, between Rome Aeterna and St Mary Major, heading south. Now the first night I wandered into that, and it's a cesspit, it really is. You know, people peeing on the streets and all sorts. And I'm pretty sure that there's that's why a lot of these homeless people are around Rome Aeterna, if that makes sense. The other half of it are the people who are trying to sell you something, and they come in several forms. There are the ones that try to engage you in conversation and do something and then ask you for payment. And there are the ones that are trying to sell you things. You know, do you want this light thing? Do you want this light thing? That's the big thing. Little strobe lights that you flick into the air and they sort of whirl around. Or the scarves, the made in Italy scarves. You know, will you buy my scarves? Will you buy my scarves? And if you're trying to enjoy yourself in one of the big piazzas when it gets dark, being alone can be an issue, because they target people they tend to stay away from groups, and they stay away from the police patrols, but they go after the single people. So those were the real problems, those were the real issues, and because none of those were really an issue on my Greek tour, that's literally why this is not as good as that, why I preferred that tour, really. Also, that tour was longer. You know, I squashed a lot into the last 4 days. I could have done with 7, just to spread it out a bit. My feet kill. So that's another thing which I think is quite important. What else? So because of that, I'm just putting the Romani Aeterna Tour below Greece. I still, without a shadow of a doubt, the American Dreams Tour 2 has been the best holiday that I've been on abroad. but then it was also the longest. I planned it all, and I wasn't always alone. I was seeing people. I was doing things in different cities. I could actually live in Rome. It's funny because in a lot of ways it has similarities with London. It does have great similarities with London. The people do speak English, in fact. And the traffic is tremendous. Everybody's whizzing around on little bikes, and there's all sorts of sort of almost rules to follow when crossing the road. With the pelican crossings, if they have lights, then the cars have right of way. If they don't have lights, then you have right of way, and particularly if they're turning a corner from a main road into a side road, they would have to stop if you stepped out. It's a tremendous sight to behold, particularly around some of the really big concourses, because there are no road markings, and in some places areas for cars in 4 lanes, despite there not actually being lane markings. They're 4 abreast, all trying to turn into different places, and the honking of car horns and all sorts. It's a sight to behold. It really is. So that's one thing as well. Didn't manage to check out the metro, and I didn't go on the trams either. There is a tram service, but it only services certain areas of the city, and I'm not sure that they were in any of the areas that I wanted to go in, although they start and presumably end at Roma Termini. The metro system also, I could have done that, but I would rather walk, really, because I don't, if it's anything like the London Underground, it's confusing enough when you're in England trying to do it without having to do it in Italy, with no doubt fleeces that are, and trying to use the self-service ticket machines. I'm sorry, but not a chance. So I could live in Rome, but I wouldn't want to visit it particularly again. I feel like I've done what I needed to do here. But I would like to visit some of the other Italian cities. I had no interest in visiting places like Venice. But now, having seen Rome, I would like to see another Italian city, just to see what it's like. And I still want to go to Pompeii and Vesuvius. So there is at least 2 more Italian tours at some point to plan. So there we are.